Alright, hello to anyone watching. Today I'll be doing the past 2 days challenges of Advent of Code. Didn't have time for a stream yesterday, so I'll just do 2 days today. First, let's take a look at the challenge because I haven't done that yet. I did download both the inputs, but I haven't actually looked at the challenge yet. So I did also see some people struggle with allocating a lot of memory for this, so let's hope it's not too horrible. Let's see. Cafeteria. As the forklifts break through the wall, he also delighted to discover that there was a cafeteria on the other side after all. You can hear a commotion coming from the kitchen. At this rate, we won't have any time left to put the wreaths up in the dining hall. Resolute in your quest to investigate. If only we hadn't switched to the new inventory management system right before Christmas, another elf exclaims. You ask what's going on. The elves in the kitchen explain the situation. Because of their complicated new inventory management system, they can't figure out which ingredients are fresh and which are spoiled. Yeah, there's a hover text there which I don't know what it's a reference to. When you ask how it works, they give you a copy of their database. Oh dear. The database operates on ingredient IDs. It consists of lists of fresh ingredient ranges, blank line, and list of available ingredients IDs. Okay, so that's inclusive, I suppose. Yep, inclusive ranges. There can't be an over. Oh god, there's an overlap. Oh. Now this could get tricky. I'm gonna see if I can combine ranges then, because that should make things more efficient. Okay, so I just need to count the amount of ingredients that are fresh. Well, same procedure as always. Let's first read the input in. And let me remember to actually switch scenes correctly this time. I remembered for once. Alright, there we input. Well, let's see. Main trick here is going to be in parsing, I reckon, because I just want... Let's first get the parse input function going. It's not gonna be that, it's gonna be some results. Okay, let's first do split once on any double new line. That's better. Alright, that should make things... Okay, from here I'll need... Ranges are the tricky parts. Ideally I want to have some... Let's keep them sorted if I can. So that'll make searching through them easier. Because what I did see is that the numbers are rather big. Particularly with these ranges. The numbers are big and they're quite large, so I can't just pre-compute the entire ranges at any point. So probably want to keep track of them in some sort of structure, because then I can more easily work with that. So I can have going to be a vector of... I think start and end pair should be fine, really. think the result will look like a box slice of U64 pairs and just a slice of IDs, which can also be U64s. We're going with 64 because, again, big numbers. It'll just work for sure. Alright. I'll have to add such ranges later, but first I'll just be lazy. These I can just go these little lines, map them into 64 from stir. Should be able to do air, 2-string, don't quite want that. That was pretty easy, and then I can just return. Nice. Now for the tricky step, actually building the ranges. Ideally, I want to make, let's make a wrapper around Vec. Ordered instruction that is just going to wrap a Vec T. So that I can implement. I think what I want to first is consume. The idea is that I have a vector that will always be sorted. Simple. Get I want a the more efficient contains method. It's the main thing. That's what I can do now. Oh, it's already picked up on it. I can use binary search. This way it should be a lot faster to search through a list of all those ranges. That's also not quite what I need. At least implement a quick push function though. Yes, I can binary search and binary search because that will either give me the index. Yes, there we go. Because now it'll always insert at the correct index and it'll always remain sorted. Now what I need is a clever way to find ranges here. So don't know if I need it, but keep contains it anyways. And just for convenience, just have dref implemented for convenience sake. And now for particularly sort of like view sizes, implement specifically here. So it's not U size, it's of course U64. Should be able to go for a clever. I think I can manually implement binary search here. Probably easiest because that of course needs reference to self. Oh, actually, I might be able to do this. This passes two numbers, of course. Okay. Yeah, I can make use of ORD here because if it's less than H... No, that's... What function does it again? Oh, that's... Question is, why does that only give me one element here? Self should be... I don't get it. Why is that only expecting... Why is that giving me reference to a single U64 when it's implemented for a tuple? That doesn't make sense. Does that one work then? Why is that only... Oh, I see. can have my 2 bounds, so can do is numbers less and lower than ordering less, else if actually I wonder, can I can deref, nice. Number is greater than the higher bound, then it's, am I doing this correctly? I'm swapping these. I did this wrong. Because if this range is, let's see if I'm actually doing this correctly. Okay, so if the number is greater than the highest bound, then the argument is less than the target, so I need a high range. Else, if it's not less than or greater, it's gonna be in range, in which case ordering equal. This function should let me get, yeah, I'm pretty sure this function solves it, because now I can very quickly check if something is in range or not, because I can binary search for that. And now instead of making them mutes, I can probably just cleverly do here I can do lines. Split once at dash. Actually, that shouldn't be like this. It should be okay. Or not quite. Guns being jumped. I could probably do this in one function. Okay, let's that works, nice. I can from string s let's not gonna do the same for the higher bound. Alright, that converts to that. Collect. Doesn't need type annotations. Yes. Turbofish time. Result. Box slice. Don't need to go into box slice anymore. Alright, that's the difficult part done, I think. Actually, not quite. Because I need to be careful here. Because ranges might have duplicates. Actually, I do think I want to do this as Vec. Because doing this as a Vec lets me... Actually, I can do this part already. Two lines. That's a problem. Okay, because that is that. Whatever. We can drop the map. Drop that in parentheses, and there we go. The same for higher range. Now I should be able to do something like actually, this method should probably just be that's better. Does that work? Why does that not work? how do I go from... Oh, okay, that's what I need. Nice, that's simple. If a number is in range, then I just get its index, which I can then reuse here. Technically, I could be more efficient here by also getting the error index for reinserting correctly afterwards. It's like... it's fine. This is almost certainly efficient enough. If lower is already in a range, then... if lower is contained in a range, that means there is a range with a lower bound and a potentially higher bound. So we might need to update that range as highest bound. I can do... get mute. And get mute IDX. This will work. I can implement direct mute as well, I guess. No semicolon, of course. Not perfect, but it works well enough. Now I can again do the same for lower. If range of 1 is bigger than the lower range, this way instead we can expand ranges. Do I want to do this with a simple flag? I think I might. Is there any way in which both of these can be true at once? No. Don't think so. If the lower bound is in a lower range, then... this range are always joined immediately, so... what if there's a range that's completely contained? Well, that might be an issue. If I'm adding a range that is completely contained... I'll do it like this to be safe. This way I can be sure it's fine. This pushes at the correct index. Nice. derive some stuff as per usual. Doesn't even copy, that's fine. Why is that? Why can't I do that? Move it, where's borrowed then? Why is this an issue? 'Cause that's an owned value. It does have a type of vec. Why does it have trouble taking ownership? I don't get muse, but that should not be an issue, right? Because the borrows are always top player. Why can I not? What does that error mean? Why is this thing still borrowed here? It shouldn't be. Again, why is that an issue? What if I just return the sword to the Vec instead? Just drop that part. That works. Plus that preserves the idea that it is sorted, which is nice. Only buff read here. This I should be able to do. Expect. Nice. So now I should just, if I understood the assignment correctly, which let me pull it up again. I just need to check for each ID if it's in a range, which should be pretty easy now. Let's see. That should be as easy as ID stuff. Now filter. Just check if ID is in range. Just check if it's some, because I don't care about this. Just nice. I just count. Nice. Then Okay, let's just send it. Let's see if it's just correct on the first try. If it even compiles. Should have seen that one coming. Question is why? Because I'm on Windows, that is why. Doesn't work because I'm on Windows, that is a damn shame. There's a solution to that, and once Windows 10 support fully ends, I'm gonna fix that by not using Windows. But for now, this works. Let's see if that's actually the correct answer though. That's a big if. Not quite. Okay, why is it wrong though? Just for simplicity. For simplicity, I'll only use a small one this time. Which I will use small sample. For the example, this should be more. Why is it so low? Actually, no, it's correct. Oh, this is annoying. It's correct on the example, but incorrect on... Oh, no. I hate it when this happens. It's correct on the example, but incorrect on the input. Oh, no. What went wrong? Probably expand this one a little. I doubt this function's the issue. I can debug here. So I can just say okay, let's see. One. Okay, it does happen. Again, I forgot. Just added the debug statements in between. Okay, so move this for now. So 1 is indeed correctly out of range. 5 is in range. 8 is again spoiled. These two are fresh. This one is spoiled. So it works correctly. Question is why? Just assume that it wasn't just a fluke. Didn't mess up basing the input either, did I? Somehow. 1183 lines. That is correct, right? Check just in case. It does appear correct. Question is then why isn't it correct? This will still compute the same result, won't it? Will. check the number of items I have first of all. 110 ranges and 1000 IDs. I do like that the code is this fast. That is hopefully a good sign. And that's 110 ranges after splitting. How many lines of ranges are there in the file? At least, I mean, after merging, of course. 182. Does that mean some ranges were merged? Question is then, why? I wonder if I can just... I can do this, right? Oh. Are those the same numbers? Oh no. Those are adjacent ranges, are they not? Because they're inclusive, I should check for that. I might have to combine a range. I mean, it shouldn't really matter, because it won't be less than lower and it won't be greater than higher. If I just search for this number, I should be able to find like multiple times here. Yeah, the range, the number isn't actually ever in a range, so question is, if I did this part correctly, these ranges do all seem to be non-overlapping. Actually, I can check whether or not all the ranges are correctly non-overlapping. How does that work? That works. I can insert. Our, like, the higher bound of R1 is less than the lower bound of R2. That should always be true. Can do that. This should always be true. Ah. Now that is interesting. Okay, let's see. Which ranges do this? Why aren't you two joined then? That means that there was a mistake in my joining code, which would lead to this issue. Okay, let me go over here. Should be able to add a condition to this one, which is lower is equal to see what that does. There we go. There we go. Range does exist and does seem to work. Found. Not in any range. This thing's lower bound should fall into something's range. Ooh. That didn't quite work. I can't test because it was. Let's say I run this, I can write some test input. I can just do this part where I say why did that not copy correctly? These should be so this range should be overlapping. Second one gets added, it should find that it should merge. I can just do whatever number I want. However long that is. That will be in range. Didn't do that. I should be able to say debug ranges len. So it does work correctly this time. So it works correctly on a short input like this. But it fails on the longer input. That is weird. There's something wrong with that. There's something wrong with this function now. Strange thing is there aren't that many of these. Like you, I don't know what's causing it then. Wait a second. Let's think about this one again. So searching through a bound. If the number falls below the lowest bound, indeed this range is too big. If it falls above the highest, then it's too small. That is correct for the lower bound. Why is this one not seen as inbounds for that one? Should be able to put a conditional on here, right? Just doesn't trigger great. Where did I get that number from if it's not? End bound is the same, but the start bound isn't. So I am indeed dealing with ranges that are fully contained within. Oh, how do we deal with that? Am I guessing correctly that at some point these ranges should have been joined together? Oh, that is annoying. I mean, I could technically do a final pass through. Could just do a cleanup pass, I think. Fuck it, that is not a good solution, but it's a simple one. Okay, I can just say. I'll just make a new vac here. do that. So, if okay, so this should merge any range where A's higher bound bigger than 2's lower bound. That combines them. That should do it. Unfortunately, it gets the exact same number of... That is an issue. Why does it still find overlapping ranges? Duplicates. How does that work? How do you get duplicate ranges? Or at the same start? Let's do more cleanup stuff. Instead add because else if auto-completion is trying its best. Somewhat in vain. Cool, then I can merge them two. Should deal with a lot of the issues. Still producing duplicates, I think. I could just things. Technically be more efficient again by Okay, the number changed, but there's still overlappings. Why? Why is that? Fuck it, I can just keep running the cleanup past till it's done, right? This could technically be an endless loop. Any of these, I'll have cleanups. And that's an endless loop. Why? I don't get why is it still having overlapping ranges. It's doing weird things. Somehow the cleanup's producing more overlapping ranges. That's bad. Question is why? What if instead of just recreate the array? Any of the struggling more with this than I thought I would. Yeah, that makes sense. That is annoying. I can only assume that somehow at some point like adjacent ranges getting extended into each other. That's what I think happens. It falls within our range. So lower. This is just a result of extending or not doing everything. So how do I end up with a duplicate range? That is a good question for us. Don't know how that happens. Still up to date? No, it's not. Okay, back to the original. Really gets too much of the check manually, which is annoying. Something I can check for. What if I add the sync to all of these? Okay, so that's for index 2 in ranges. But it's higher. So this is on the lower bound search. So it says that 51777 lies between these, which is true. So range will be this element. Five 702. Wait. Why is that already in here though? Why are you in here already? That is a very good question. Why is this range already in here? This is not. So by the end, these two should be joined together, but they're not. Okay, so I can just do that check after this. Which I should be able to... So with this, I'm extending upwards, so... If there is a next range, then I can say... And... So I have to check. If this is now connected, then so we might need to combine these two, in which case do this, but not this. Right, because that's mutably borrowing twice. Do that after. Yeah, that is annoying. How do I deal with that? Just forcibly remove it, right? Should be able to just... I can remove it here. Now it's no longer in there. This will always work. Okay, so I can already say how does it deal with index being out of range? There's just how does that work? It panics. That is not good. How do I want to deal with that then? That's always going to be fine. +1 might not though, so that is a problem. So if this, there might be a next vector. So in this case, the lower bound is in this range, so I want to extend up. It's going to be greater than equal. Should probably start commenting this. Since they're both removed, I can now do push. I can push. If not, you can just also push with next. That will need to just be reinserted. If there is no next range, then it's just going to be the old check, which is if less than higher, I can just push. Else, I'll just... This means it was contained, so I can just do... Just push back range. And now I need to repeat this. Okay, so in this case, the lower bound is contained. Now then, let's check for the lower bound. I think if I just repeat this for... If I repeat this for the higher bound, but reversed, it should be fine. Hopefully. I need to be careful here, so I need to... Check sub 1. Actually, this will always be fine, so I don't need to do this check. Move PIDX. Instead, I want to check if lower is less than equal to merge these. In this case, there exists an item before, and so now we're dealing with the previous range. Some lower, that means I need to combine these two ranges. This was... need to check against the higher range here, because I can do... Let's actually do this correctly. That's not correct. Also just going to be lower to range of 1. Push these two back in. So this is inverted now. Should do it. Not quite. Okay, so it still doesn't deal with fully contained ranges. That's the only missing issue now. Alright, the only thing left is some fully contained ranges. Wonder if it's fixed if I just make this L-sifts instead. That makes things way worse. Could just add a pass for filtering fully contained ranges. This should be easier to clean up though, so I can just say if it's fully contained. It's fully contained. It should be. So it's fully contained. This now needs to be mutable again. Don't think this second check is technically necessary, but I don't think it hurts either. Let's remove all the doubles. It does, but that's now way lower than expected. And this will not push the last elements in. And there's still overlapping ones. How is that possible? This only pushed in the... Oh, this is kind of annoying. Doing it like this skips most of them, which is an issue. So... yeah, now I still need to make sure that I always include again, I should be able to just can I decrease the amount by just rerunning this a couple times? I just want to go for a working solution at this point. No, that one's gonna make it way worse because there will be duplicates. Still does this. Somehow repeating it makes it worse every single time. Because now it'll once again be missing. What if? Push R2 instead. Doesn't work. Somehow there will still be duplicates. That's what I don't get. How do you end up with duplicates here? What if I just do it like this? Personally, I think I want to do both these checks. Great, now I have duplicates and fully contained ranges. How does it keep happening? Wait a second, why am I doing it this difficult way? Not too many windows for this. Only if neither is contained, I'll now push. No more duplicates or overlapping ranges. This should be it, finally. If it's not, I'm just at a loss, honestly. Oh no. That's not a good sign, is it? Why do I need that cleanup step anyways? Annoyingly, it still gets this one correct every time. So this is now missing ranges or what? Don't get it. Gonna be something wrong with parse function somewhere. I mean, I could technically write a naive solution still. It's a lot less efficient. What if I said write something simpler, just for starters? Instead of all this, I'm just gonna simply have a list of all the ranges. And you're just gonna have to sort through all of them. Or search through all of them. Not quite it. Split once on a dash. Okay, that's now a lazy parse input. This is not going to be very efficient, but this might take a while. Well, it spits out an input pretty quickly. If this is correct, that's at least something. Okay, simple solution is just better sometimes. Now is where the real trouble begins, I think. Oh, thank goodness, that means I don't need any of this complex stuff. Good. That is actually easy to deal with. I'm just gonna get rid of all this junk. Get rid of some unused. This is luckily very easy to implement. This I can do easily. For this, I can just go. The number is just going to be higher minus lower plus 1. And then I can just sum that. Hopefully U64 is big enough, because it might actually not be. Like, I'm not joking, this might not be big enough. Does this work? It fits. It's a big number, but that is to be expected. Oh, that's less than optimal. So why is that? Because now overlapping does matter a lot. Oh no. So I am gonna have to deal with overlapping ranges. No. Could do something ugly. Probably work. Question is, how ugly do I want to get? Because now it does matter a lot that there are possibly boundary overlaps. Here I was hoping it didn't have to filter it out. If there's that many, I can't count. Like, I gotta have a systematic way to filter them out. I can't just create an array with every number, like every idea that I've counted. Because that's just not going to fit. How do I want to do this? Okay, this will get ugly. Probably better to borrow here. Okay, so I can't just check these ranges. This is once again going to get ugly. If there's any range if there's any range where if there is any range that overlaps with this. Let's first simply need to make it a bit simpler, so first check if this has an overlap on the lower bound. Its RH is anywhere less higher part is greater than lower. So in this case, we found a potential overlap here. In this case, there is an overlap because the higher part of an already counted range overlaps with the lower part of this range. This will return a range. Okay, so here I found an overlap in the lower bound. So I might need to count less than higher minus lower. Because what I need here is difference between so the difference between the highest bound here, lower bound here, so that would be the amount of overlap there is. If they're equal, then since inclusive I need to do +1, I think. That's the amount of overlap. What if I now just count between? Could just force it to be disjointed range. That is probably the easiest because I can just set I can also set this to now if they're equal, they don't count anything. Never need the lower one here, do I? Yeah, I think. This check here makes sure that it's not fully contained. I'll need to do something similar with the higher range. Instead, I need to check for overlap there, so I need to check for any elements with a lower here I'm looking for an overlap on the higher side. So there's a chance that this higher is bigger than this lower bounds, but less than equal. But higher is less than this thing's top bound. And now we need to make sure its lower is actually why did I make like that? need to make sure that it's not contained, because here I'm finding a guess it makes sense for these to be swapped, maybe. I'm looking for a range where something where overlap on the high side, so it's lower bound. Here I'm looking for something where it's higher bound is definitely bigger, but its lower bound crosses this one. I have a range where the lower bound this does make sense. So now I have a range where that is not contained, but where there is overlap. I suppose I can include this in here. Same goes for this. This is just making sure that it's not fully contained. So in this case I'm looking that it's so this is an overlap on the high side, which means on the high side. On the low side I have to check whether it's on the road on that side. I have to check if it's okay. So on this side I'll have to check. Just a second. Alright, so for this I'll need to check if this range's lower bound is actually above my lower bound as well. So that means that there's an actual overlap. So here the overlap's going to be on the high side. So that means it's going to be H is bigger, so almost lower bound here. Its lower bound is below higher, so if I do that, I get the difference between those two. That's part of the overlap. Almost need to do +1 for closer ranges. overrun there, so this will be from lower to here. I need to go from my lower bound up to the overlap part, so that will be this thing's lower bound. Why did I do +1 there? To make sure it's not inclusive means I need to do -1 here. This might work actually. Cannons happen on both sides where I have overlap on both. I hope not. Okay, let's say I have... First I'll look for the lower side. Okay, that's, for example, I have 10 to 100 and 20 to 80. This won't quite work, I don't think. Can I put two separate ranges, I guess? It should be fine. In this case, we'll find that ten is less than 20. Hundred is bigger than 20. 100 is not less than 80, so that's fine. I think this might be it. Don't like this. That twice. If flag, then just counter between is just that range. There's nothing. Don't remember if I said my answer was too low or too high. Well, one way to find out, I guess, which is submit and probably be wrong. Go figure. Means they're still overcounting. I don't know why it is overcounting, because I don't see why it could be. Once contesting with this input. It's 19, which... That compare. Expecting it to be 14, okay. So at least I know this to be wrong. The question is why. Given that there's only 19, I could just very lazily do this. Now the fun begins. Let's see what the double counts are. 3, 4, 5, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. 14 is counted. Well, it's counting 16 again. It's counting these again as well. Means I'm doing something wrong. Do this, which will help. If I need this, I can drop you. 3, 4, 5, 10, 11, 12, 13. Zero, 1, count between 3 and 5, 10, 14. That's all correct. Now we're going between 15 and 18, which should be a problem because that is fully contained in this range. Just wrong. Which means my conditions are messed up. Ten is 15. Eighteen is bigger than 16, that's correct. Fourteen is less than. Yeah, my conditions are messed up. Okay, there is an issue here for fully contained ranges. Again, could be easier if I just didn't bother. The issue is still fully contained ranges. They really throw things off badly. First of all, it means my overlap detection is also wrong. Which is annoying because I don't know what's causing it then. First of all, that means this code is all garbage. This stinks. Can't count each ID, which is a nuisance. I guess I could. Could leverage CPU power to my advantage. Might have an idea. It's not a good one, but it's an idea. could iterate the whole thing. It's not efficient, but it works, I think. This is gonna get worse and worse as time goes on, but I don't care at this point. The entire lower bound. Lower is not in his range and is less than CL. No, because it has to be for all of them. For each number, I check every range now. If there's any range in which this number lies, we don't count it. If for all ranges that I've checked, if L isn't part of any of the ranges, then plus equals 1, and at the end I can just this is horrendously inefficient. It's still wrong, isn't it? It's correct. Oh, this is going to be so slow. If this is ever going to finish at all, that is. Okay, let's see. Not liking that memory usage either. I think this is the definition of a brute force solution. Not growing much anymore, that's good. I'm going to make the call and for it as a release build instead. Pray that the compiler has something good in store for me. It probably doesn't. It's definitely crunching numbers. I have a feeling this is going to take a while though. I'm almost certain this is not the way you're supposed to be doing this, but it certainly isn't stopping me, because I don't want to try and fix this at this point. There's just some parts I'm missing somewhere and I don't want to think about it too much anymore. Which also means I'm probably leaving today's challenge for tomorrow, technically. So I'm not sure if I'm up for another one after this. Yeah, I'm going to take a very quick break. I'll be back in a little bit. Hopefully there will be an answer on my screen when I get back. Anyways. I'm back, and it is still going, which is not great. I'm gonna cancel it, I think. This super lazy algorithm is just not efficient enough. So I'm gonna have to get smarter than this. Okay. I think I'm just gonna split it up into 4 possible cases, which is multiple possible cases. There's more than 4. Just write it down actually, because that's generally a good idea. Yeah. What if I instead just try to compute? What if here I just try to compute a part that isn't in any of the existing ranges? So what if I do that instead? That could work actually. I mean, at the end, in the true input, there's only 180 ranges, right? 182. That should still be fine here. It's not great, but it's worse. Could have been worse. So I can't move that, so that's me. Okay. Numbers are between lower and higher. So if I might just have to adjust these bounds. If I encounter a range, it either is completely outside of this, which means the lower bound, if my lower bound is greater than higher, or if my higher bound less than lower. So in either of these cases, it's completely outside the range. That's not what I wanted. So with this, there's just no overlap at all. Instead, if there is okay, let's say the overlap's on the low side only. So this range cuts into it on the low side, for example. So this would mean that this range is, if it cuts on the low side, that means this range is, higher range is greater than lower. But also, is higher range is less than Let's say it lands between here. Okay, I need to really make sure I do this right all the way. So here, the range cuts, like pushes up the lower mound, but also doesn't touch the higher mound. So this will be okay, so otherwise, else if its lower bound is lower than my higher bound, but also okay, so this thing's lower bound cuts over here, but doesn't contain the full range. Okay, so I've pushed the range around. How do you do loops here again? How do you label for loop? Oh, right. Colon. Okay, so this is the case where so in this case we only need to push the lower bound up. In this case we only need to push the upper bound down. No case where both bounds have to be cut by the same one. Could be that this range is fully contained by this point, so if this thing's lower bound is less than equal to just lower, its higher bound is in this case fully contained, so we're done. Document. If it just higher ends up less than equal to less than lower, also continue outer. Once we've gone through all possible ranges, that means we now have the only things left here should be just like this. Continue check just to be good. After this, fresh these plus equals higher minus might be equal +1 for that. Okay, let's see if this does anything good. Starters. Well, it's already wrong on the first one, so that's not a great sign. Okay, but why? Because range is not because range being inclusive, that's why. Greater than equal. That should be the correcting factors. Okay, that is correct. Now for the scary test. Does it work? It's a hell of a lot faster. Also, that seems big. Where it might be too big. Oh, please be right. I want to be done with this. Down too low. Now that is impressive. I've counted too low. How did I do that? How did I do that? How do we end up too low with this? How does that work? Like, how do you end up too low? Okay, let's give this another try. This part is correct. Let's say I add another one that goes up to 16. Ah! That might be something. Again. Why does it recount at 20? That is an edge case. Good to know. That is for the lower bound having to be pushed up. Did I? Did I just simply forget to make this less than equal? No way, right? I hope that is not it, because if that's it, I'm going to be disappointed in myself. Still fast. Oh. Okay, back to finding edge cases. So I'll now try to find. Let's say add 8, 10. They should up it to 80, which it does correctly. What if I then go from 9 to 11? None of this should be counted. It's not counting any of it. Let's say just go completely disjointed from 30 to 31. That still works. It's completely disjointed. Question is, why isn't it working then? This is the annoying part. With the test input, it is correct. I don't know where it's still broken then. Neither of these are triggered here. That shouldn't be right. Probably because I'm building release. That doesn't help, does it? Okay, so we're dealing with 12 to 18. Okay. What am I dealing with here? Shouldn't it be put to 15? Which is correct. Now we're doing 16 to 20. Yes. Should be good to make this lower and higher instead. I doubt this will do anything, but at this point it really just throwing things at the wall until something sticks. Don't even have faith that this is the correct answer. This is the part that stings, when you just don't believe your own answer anymore. Difference. It's the exact same. And annoyingly, it's also no longer telling me if it's lower or higher, which is kind of a nuisance. Question is though, how do I deal with this now? I don't see why this code shouldn't work. What if in this case I just do control team push anyways? What if I do this anyways? Keeping the clipboard just in case. Doesn't change anything, does it? Why must it work with such big numbers? Yeah, I don't know if I can solve this today. But I just do not have the answers for why this is not working. It's not this, right? No, because that would have been picked up already. Again, it should be easy enough to run this on small inputs instead. What if I... if I just run it like this? It's 3, 4, and 5. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. That does add 5. 16, 18, 19, 20. And once again adds 5, which is correct. That's 1. I don't know why it is miscounting. Let's add more of those edge cases again. They should add 2 more to the count. Does. Let's try spanning multiple ranges with one of these. Everything from 12 to 22 should already be covered. 13 to 21, they shouldn't do anything. And it doesn't. And 23 should have 1. Which it does. Still be contained. Again, I just do not see where my bug is. I'm afraid I'm for once gonna have to call it without solving the challenge. That really is a shame. Like, I don't know if I'm gonna solve this today. Well, it's a shame to end the stream like this, but I just don't know what else to do at this point. Any tests I managed to throw at it passed it with flying colors. It's not going to recount those. Yeah. Couple more was still correct. I really don't know what's wrong with this code. Well then, I'm afraid I'm just gonna have to leave it at this for today. Sad as that is. I'm just gonna have to try again tomorrow, hopefully with a bit of a fresh look at things, because I do not know what's wrong with this at the moment. Anyways, that will be a problem for later. So, anyways, until tomorrow, see you later.